Hello. Happy Saturday. Hey, Sapphire Starship. How's everyone doing? It's game dev time. Hey, Rhiannon Journey. Happy Saturday. Smooth in a second. Thanks for the hydrate. Yeah, I already had my many cups of coffee this morning. So it's hydrating time. What's happening? Hey, Arnio. All right, what were we doing? Oh yeah, we were wiping out the separate outlining. The outline split, which I still for the life of me can't figure out why we did that. I think it was something we were trying to do to compensate for the fact that we could only draw one section of the wall at a time. I think it's how we dealt with certain issues around that. But it seems not necessary anymore, so we're going to disconnect about half of these. We're going to recover. We increased the number of tile map layers about 50% so that we could separate out the top and the bottom layer of the walls, but now we're going to get rid of the separate outline layers, so we get half of them back. We get half of the total number of tile map layers back, which is great. So we were starting to get into territory that I was uncomfortable with. So let's try this. Take texture out of this. I'm also using my backup keyboard. My main keyboard is battery dead, so man, going back to a regular keyboard is weird. Everyone's flooding in now. I know. Now that you're here. Happy Saturday. Fun plans, anyone? I already did the thing that I do every Saturday morning where I go have a really nice, well, I think it's really nice, but it's pretty cheap. I have a big breakfast around the corner at this diner, this little old diner run by this little old couple. It's so good. It's like classic American like diner food. Pancakes, eggs, sausages. They serve all sorts of stuff though. Some guys came in, sat down next to me, and were like, "We'll have 3 New York steaks." And I'm like, what a wonderful day in the neighborhood. Rhiannon Journey, welcome to the stream where Dave answers philosophical questions like how many tile map layers is too many tile map layers. I should have some performance metrics before I'm like, let's destroy half of them. But if I can just get rid of half of them, let's just do that. Let's not even worry about the performance implications. I do have to fix it here then, though. So I have these hard-coded in here. Sapphire, you've been doing absolutely nothing today, but you think you need. At the same time, you feel like you should actually do something productive. No, doing nothing is very important. That's usually my Sunday. I think I'm going to end up working tomorrow for a few hours, so c'est la vie, but usually Sunday is my I don't do anything, because I work Monday to Friday, and I stream Tuesday to Saturday, so I'm always doing something, right? But Sunday, that's the day I mean, it's lazy Sunday to me, and it always will be, you know? I think that's an important part of taking care of yourself. Doesn't have to be on a Sunday. Hey, Nix, how's it going? You're still being so productive. I'm concerned about your sleep schedule. But I'm glad you seem to be recovering very quickly and well. All right, for level and editor block textures, .get children, just take that out. Anything else? Something down here? Oh, right. I was thinking today there's parts of this code I haven't touched in for so long, coming up on a year, that I like don't remember how it works anymore. I'm like, if I wanted an entity query, how would I pose that? I'm like, I don't remember. I don't remember my own syntax for making an entity query. I'm sure I wrote it down somewhere, but it's funny. All right, so these numbers need to change. Overlay source ID index would be 3. Reserved source ID count would be 4. Tile layer count is still 10. Tile level count is still 8. So we have 80 tile map layers per ship instead of, 160. Which again is maybe not enough to matter, but if we've got, 9 ships on screen, 10 ship, well, it would be 9 max, but let's just say for argument's sake 10. Do we like 1600 tile maps or do we like 800 tile maps? Arneo, even gods take a day off, so you feel like humans can take 2. I think that's a reasonable thing. Nix, you don't feel productive? Yeah, don't be productive. Take a break. Nix, all you're saying is yesterday you fell into bed and for a couple of seconds you thought you were in heaven. Sleep is good. Sleeping and eating are like 2 of my favorite things, 2 of my, I would say my like most precious pastimes. All right, so what else do we need to do to account for this? There's probably somewhere this is happening, like the world somewhere. And by the world, I mean the ECS world. So the ECS world probably, it's actually probably just the game node actually is the only one that probably knows anything about this. So where is it? There it is. All right, what do we got? Okay, here's where I fix this. Like this. So right now we're like pre-registering all our nodes here. This is kind of terrible, but it works. We do have... I need to come up with a better way of doing this. Instead of like exporting these and like having them hard-coded, I need like a node registration system or something. Kind of like the way we register like entities or components or... Well, it's probably more like how we register entities than components. But I need to do something. So this is not sustainable, what we got going right here. Sapphire, you didn't get a ton of sleep last night? You didn't have your home assistant automation set up, so your normal weekday schedule to turn on the lights the time you normally get up to work, which you didn't have to do today? Yeah. It's hard to turn that off, right? It's hard to turn that off. I mean, whether it's an automated thing. I mean, I'm very glad that my alarm clock has like a weekend mode. So it doesn't just keep setting my alarm off. But my partner has an alarm that goes off at like 9 every day, so we kind of just wake up. At the, it's like a backup. Because normally if I'm waking up for work, I wake up really early. I'm able to turn that off on the weekend, which I think is really important. I hate it when my body wakes me up at the crack of dawn on a weekend day. He was like, let's go to work. And I'm like, no, let's not. Sapphire, you got them fixed so they're set up correctly. Will only happen on the weekdays. Yeah, I don't have any of that Home Assistant stuff. Kind of wish I did to an extent. My dad really likes that stuff. He's always like, look, I can control like all the systems in my house, like with my phone, whether I'm there or not. And I'm like, that's neat. He's gotten to the point where he's hardcore enough about it, where he's talking about like making his own little systems, like his own little embedded systems to like handle like the Wi-Fi going down and like kicking his system over into like a backup mode. Using like, it's like the equivalent of battery backup, but for internet. Where it like kicks into their phone service as a backup when the Wi-Fi goes down. Funny stuff. People get hardcore about Home Assistants. I think it's good for them though, as they get older and stuff. I think it's good for them to automate. So they're still like in control, but they don't have to do as much. I don't quite know how I want to do this here. I guess I should change this enum. Tile Atlas block. I should probably have default. Let's have default as 0, which I honestly could just omit. Let's have default as 0, overlay as 1. And then all, well, I want to call it like base block or something. Let's just do this for now. I think I'm gonna change the way, because I want to do this kind of registration thing, which I think is going to involve this to some extent, like a tile registration thing. So it's probably not going to be an enum for very long. So I probably introduced a bunch of errors. That's fine. Again, we like this. We like it when we refactor stuff. Get a very clear idea of what needs to change. Oh, not what I wanted to do. Rihanna, you did not get good sleep last night. You're not able to sleep in a day. That sucks. Sleep feels the best when you forget to turn off the alarm and wake up way too early. That sounds sarcastic. It is nice when your body wakes yourself up at like a good time, at a time where your body feels like it's ready to wake up. I just feel like sometimes that's not the same thing as your body waking yourself up. Sometimes your body wakes yourself up because it's like, this is when we wake up, we have to go. we have to do things. That's like different than like, I've slept and I'm ready now. I don't think I'm doing this the way I want to do this. I feel like this one should go into the... I should actually move this one down, huh? Input overlay. Should I actually do it like this, huh? Yeah, the automation stuff is cool. I agree with what you're all saying. Sapphire, you have the Home Assistant controlling a temperature in your bedroom. Just where your guinea pig cages are. The heater you have in there is not good at keeping a consistent temp, and it's hard to set in the first place. You got the heater on an outlet. You can turn off and on from your assistants and a temperature sensor in your piggy cages. That's nice. That's nice. Yeah, I had to bring out a backup space heater. My thermostat is busted. I have to try to fix it. And so I've been using this backup space heater, which is like very cavalier. It's been cooking me a couple times. It's supposed to turn itself on and off, but having a hard time dialing it in. It's smart, using a smart outlet to automate a dumb device. That is smart. That's a smart way to do it. That's the kind of automation I like, the kind that you're like totally in control of. It's like, don't buy the home automation that has its own software and its own subscription and its own like web server you have to like hook into. Like, get a device, get the hardware that does hardware stuff. Handle all the like orchestration of it yourself. I think that's where people have bad experiences, is when they're like, oh, I have like a Ring camera and it has to go through the Ring systems and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so far the only thing you're paying for is buying the hardware once, no subscriptions at all. Yeah, that's what it's about. It's definitely more work to do it that way, but Brianna Journey, if Cloudflare goes down, so does your home assistance. That's bad. Yeah. Yeah, if you can't control your systems from inside your house when your internet goes down, like when your external internet goes down, that is a problem. The only thing I should need to control my stuff from inside my home is my own local area network. All right, here's my new source ID calculator. Just gotta plug this in everywhere. And I think we're good to go. Next, you're thinking about buying the €7 monthly subscription to be able to access your assistance from the net, Home Assistant Cloud thingy. You're not sure about it due to privacy concerns. Oh, I think, Nix, you would be more than capable of just, you know, getting your own little server up and running. I'm trying to think of fun stuff I can do with my old computer. That's kind of like my backup office computer right now, but it's stuck on Windows 10, so I think it's going to become like a server of some kind, like a Linux server of some kind. I'm trying to think of stuff to do with it. If I had a house, I don't. I live in an apartment. But if I had like, if I had the need for home assistant stuff, I'd be all over that. Getting like little Raspberry Pis and hooking them up to like little local servers and be neat. I will love the point at which I get into like my like midlife era when I'm just like puttering around doing stuff like that. Assuming I get to do that at all and the society doesn't just end some kind of cataclysm, but looking forward to that. When it's all about projects, when it's all about little projects around the house, that sounds like a delightful thing. All right, so the source ID right now is getting set correctly. Oh yeah, it's a totally separate process, so that should be fine. Door.division, none, lower, middle, upper. Oh, I understand. Okay, that's all the bugs. If I hit play, what will happen, I wonder? What kind of heat do I have in my apartment? Normally, it's like natural gas. It's like central heating. Big old central heating with a thermostat. Computers are like the most efficient electric heaters if you're forced to use electricity. Yeah, no, they're pretty good. I don't have quite enough. This apartment's big and not well insulated, but this oil heater that I've been using as a backup is pretty good. The only problem is the heat regularity, like its consistency throughout the apartment is very, you know, it's not like the central heating, the forced air. So I have it set up right now next to like my air purifier, which is this big old fan. So I'm trying to like circulate the hot air. It's funny. Rhiannon Journey, you can, oh no, hold on. Arneo, you read a review for security cam that uses AI to analyze what the camera sees. The review complained it creates bad, inaccurate reports. All you could think about was how people who buy these would willingly compromise their privacy with AI and as tools. Yeah, they rely on people not caring. There's like the real version of the phrase, which is like those who would compromise their freedom for their security will get neither, or something like that. That's one thing, but the thing that actually happens is that the people who would sacrifice their freedom for convenience will also get neither. That's the version of it that I think most of us live under. Nix, the reason you're thinking about it is your GF being annoyed at not being able to control a light due to them being on data instead of Wi-Fi. That's a fair point. But again, you should just be able to like set up an endpoint, right? Shouldn't need to like go through someone else's service. Just set up some little thing. Random Journey, your desk is right next to your big backdoor sliding glass door, and it's the coldest spot in the house. You love it. Ah, yeah, I'm next to this big single pane. Like one of the walls, the exterior wall of my apartment is like basically one big window, and that's where my desk is. And so yeah, it's also like the coldest part of the apartment. The left side of my body will often feel colder than the right side of my body. All right, I'm gonna try to run this and see what happens. Isn't the best heating done with water pipes? I would love like a Roman. Okay, everything's horrible. There's some tile map error. Oh, I probably didn't set back up the. Yeah, I didn't set back up the exports. I would love a Roman floor though, you know, like a heated Roman floor, which is just you've got your floor and then you've got like a lattice work of like heated water pipes running under it. I've been in houses that have those, and that's like the bougiest. Like, oh, I would be so happy. It kind of forces you to have like a hard floor, but I would make that trade. All right, where do I think I need to set these? Like here? Oh, both? Why do I need to know these in both places? Okay, whatever. This is convenient but very fragile. I need to stop doing it like this. It's just easy. Those are so nice. Yeah, that'd be great. All right, reconnected. All right. Well, something's happening. It's rendering the lower section of the wall and the Z layer of the floor. Actually, is that even the Z layer of the floor? That's not. Oh, I might not have set the floor offsets correctly. I don't think I did. I think that's what's happening. I was kind of just doing this very cavalierly. Yeah, it's not minus 8, 10. It's like minus 8, like minus 6 or something. Yeah, like that. Nix, in your apartment, you have a tiled floor. You love how your feet feel nice and cold. If only the temperature in the rest of the apartment would be the same and not blazing hot. See, that's the opposite of the situation that I would like to find myself in. I would like the floor to be the warmest part of the home. But I would generally like my home to be colder, on the colder side. Arnio, the Finnish way is hot water circulating in the heat batteries that heat up the room. You don't think you've ever been in a house with any other type of heating in there? I'm sure the Finnish method for heating homes is very good. And I'm not surprised it's water-based. I think Finns understand cold and how to combat it. In general, not in San Francisco particularly, but in California in general, people are way more concerned with their like air conditioner than their heating setup, I think. At least, you know, us coastal elites. Is this still 0? Should this be 0? I think this should be 0. All right, let's see what we got this time. Did I fix it? Nix. 15C or 59F and you're happy. 20C and 68F is too hot for you. 22C and 71F and you're sweating. Yeah, that's a little colder than maybe my setup here. Oh, I need to stop setting a modulate on these layers. How do I do that? Like this. All right. This is we're gonna have to do some fiddling to get the semi-transparent tiles. I think for me, it's like the opposite. I think that when it gets too hot for you, I think that's the ideal spot for me. Like, Like high 60s Fahrenheit is like what I would like. 68 ish. Hey, the ant. You and Godot is Godot. Godot is Godoting pretty hard right now. Someone's at my front door. 1 second. I got it. I'm on it. Okay, it's a delivery good. I'm relay triggering. We installed like a smart doorbell. It's kind of nice. I don't think it works particularly well, but like there's no speaker on the door box, so when I let someone in, all you hear is the door unlatch. So if you're like a delivery driver and you're on the phone or something like that, you're not going to hear me open my door. It's insane to me that someone would build a smart door box that doesn't have a speaker in it that can tell people when the door is being unlatched. It does have a speaker in it because I can talk to people through the box, but it doesn't have like a the door has been open like buzz. It's insane to me. So I know this box has a speaker in it, but it doesn't use it to notify people when the door has been unlocked. It's I have no words. Rhiannon Journey, you love that in winter you can keep your house at 64, 66 F without blasting the AC all day. 72 is too warm for you also. You do wish your floors were warm? Yeah. Yeah, I think if the ambient temperature was like high 60s and then my floor was like a little warmer than that, that would be like heavenly. Sapphire, you tend to run really warm. You're like perfectly comfortable while everyone else is freezing. If everyone else is comfortable, you're probably on the verge of sweating. That's funny. Just super glue an old phone to the door box and yell buzz into it when you open the door. Yeah, it's really horrible because I don't want to talk to every delivery driver just to let them know I'm unlocking the door. All right, we're testing this. I think this works now. We cut the number of tile map layers in half, and I think we're going to get the same behavior. So that's right. So we don't get this. I'm embarrassed. I understand why we are rendering the outline separately now. Ooh, that's gross. What did I do here? I very much understand what we're doing now. Oh, is there another way to do this? Oh, this is embarrassing. Aviant, just use code. Just code it so it makes a few beeps when it unlocks. I know, right? It's crazy. Use Godot to code it. Damn. Yeah, so the reason why we have a separate layer for the outlines is so that tiles that would otherwise not be drawn look back and are like, hey, I should be drawing an outline here. But how many things does this affect? Well, I need to fix this lower. So what's happening here? I think the Y face needs to have its sign flipped for the lower bulk. The Y one specifically. Yeah. Well, I could have probably foreseen that. I just couldn't think the last couple days. I was like, why did I do it this way? I can't figure it out, and I totally understand why I did it this way. That's okay. We'll look to see if there's a way we can do this simpler that doesn't involve doubling the number of tile map layers. I'm not going to do anything to this door box. The fact that it has a speaker and it makes no sound when you buzz someone in is not my problem. And I'm not going to do anything about it. But it's insane. Random Journey, you can turn it into a little game where you read fake ads to indicate the door is unlocked. Thanks for unlocking. Today's unlock is brought to you by Godot. That's pretty funny. The ant, that's why version control exists. Oh yeah, I could just roll it back. I don't have to actually do any work to roll this back. I just want to see if we can find an alternative. Why did that have no effect? Oh, because I only changed Actually, wait, why did that have no effect? Did I not finish doing this? 8, 10, 8, 10, 8, 10. Okay, and then what's this one? Negative 8, 10. Yeah. This is like very correct. So why is this not doing the thing that I expect it to? Are they hooked up wrong or something? Teleportation. Hey, the ant. Welcome over. This tour is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. Oh my god. Welcome over to the Twitch side. Yeah, this might be a rollback. We might just be rolling back this one. And you know, that's okay. That's how it goes sometimes. There's no other way to really do this. Now that I'm thinking about it, than the way that we were doing it. Okay. I accept defeat. Yeah, we made a lot of changes. So we want to roll back a lot of changes, except... Is there anything in here we want to keep? Nope. Yeah, we're going to restore. We're going to restore this one. Can teleport back to YouTube. All right. Have a good trip. Teleportation. All right. Let's close all these files so the system doesn't get confused.
Maximum warp.
Maximum warp. Let's go backwards. Let's take the way back machine. A couple of days here. I might have to redo the changes I made to the overlays. That's fine. The heck is the change to this? Not right now. The heck is going on with this? Okay, weird. All right, let's see what we got. Now that we nuked all those changes. Let's see where we're at. What are we reverting? My attempt to remove the separate outline layers. That apparently was crucial that we were rendering the outline separately. So. I got confused looking at all the auto tiling rules because it appears that we don't need to do that. We don't need to render them separately, but because of the way they layer in terms of their Y sorting, it's actually quite crucial that we render them separately. There we go. Reconnect all of these. It's fine. No harm. Maybe leave a comment saying do not remove these auto tiling rules. Yeah, it's not the rules. It's the fact that we are rendering the textures separately from the outlines. I thought I could get away with combining them together because I couldn't remember why we did it separately, but we had a very good reason to do it separately. I just needed to be reminded. Comments are never the answer. And so we are undoing what I was undoing. Yeah, we redid what we redid it all. We might need to redo a couple other things though, because let's see here. Let's see where we're at in terms of what's what here. I checked. We didn't mess with any of the auto tiling stuff. I think the last thing that changed that it recognizes is the change to the cutaway system. So what I should do is change that. I should start working on the cutaway system again. Yeah, this is looking fine. I don't like this. I don't like the way the terracing works now. But we can handle rendering double thick walls now, which is new. That used to be way too tough for us. I still don't think I'm going to allow double thick walls, but we can at least render them now, which is nice. Avian, why you need them? Leave a comment for if you forget again. No. Comments are sometimes the answer. Why don't you set in project settings that the game window opens maximized? Because I don't want it to. Because a lot of times I want to open the game window and I want to be able to read the debug output. I want to do stuff and like see what's happening in the debug output, which I could do just running it embedded in the window here. I could run it like this, embedded in here instead. That would probably be better. Cannot navigate to this as it has not been found in the file system. That seems okay. I should use the embedded view more for that purpose. That's kind of the only time I ever run the project. Embedded is when I want to also read the output and like scrutinize like the remote tree and stuff. But yeah, I also kind of like to look at it at different resolutions. Because like on Steam Deck, it'll look like this, right? Like this is about the sizes it would be for me. And on like a 1080p, maybe it would be more like I just kind of like looking at it different sizes, but yeah. It's also kind of silly that I do this. You could also just unmaximize it if you want to read the output. Yeah. To me, it's just easier to maximize it than it is to unmaximize it. Hey, Mr. Magoo, what's up? You bought Spider-Man yesterday? You already have 12.7 hours on it. That's pretty incredible. You still have no idea how you're able to do this in Windows? You'll get there. The Magoo OS will get there. All right, so what are we even supposed to do now? So I rolled back my changes to the tile set atlas sources. Sure, whatever. I wish I had a better idea of all the times that we're only rendering an outline at the edge of something to overcome the Y sorting issues. I wish I had an idea of when we needed to do that. I could answer that question by like coloring the outlines or something. It's kind of hard to tell otherwise. Trying to think of if I could fit those outlines in the atlas separately, because there's a little bit of space in the atlas. I guess there isn't much space actually, but there's definitely space. I guess there isn't room in the atlas. I think we're fine. I think I'm happy with this. So what are we gonna do now? Hey, Fox. Oh my god, what is this? It's a live stream? You're right. No, it is definitely personal preference, A the Ant. I don't pretend that what I'm doing is optimal in any case. It's just what I like. What do I want to do now? I really do think what I want to do is fiddle with the cutaways. Because I kind of changed the way it works. Like, we no longer cut away a whole wall. We only ever cut away half the wall. If we cut away a whole wall, we're also cutting away the floor beneath it.
I don't know what y'all think, but I think that's pretty.
So I think I want to... I don't know what that weird thing that temporarily happens sometimes when I'm placing something and like part of the wall freaks out. I'm okay with it. But yeah, I don't like this. I don't like what's happening with the wall terrace anymore. I need to decide how I want to deal with that. Looks like a blue screen. You know, as long as it's not a totally blue screen, I'm happy. Yeah, I like it that when you do a full cutaway, it leaves parts of the wall. I don't like when it totally removes the wall. I think it's confusing. So I like this, but I don't quite like how it works with our terracing steps. So I think I'm going to change the terracing steps a little bit. I just haven't quite decided how.
You guys are so good at that.
How do you control which level that is on? Is this a keyboard controlled? It's scroll wheel. So I hard code the Z level right now. And so it like maps my input onto that plane, onto that Z level. And if I scroll wheel up, it goes up. Scroll wheel down, it goes one down. I want to change the way this works. I want this to more like simulate a raycast, so that you start on the surface and then you can scroll wheel to like penetrate through to different layers. That's what I want to do. Just fake a raycast, but because it's faked, it's a little bit of work. It's not that much work. It's definitely one of the next things I want to do. I don't quite like this like step up and down thing that happens. I do it right now just to guarantee that you end up on the same tile one layer down or up when you do it. If you don't touch, like move the mouse, like if you just scroll up or down, I want you to end up back on the same tile you were. Which is maybe a better workflow for like when you're building things, but also what's this? What's causing this? Like how we cut away differently when you're in the room versus when you're on the edge of the room. Why does the cutaway system treat that differently? I don't like that either. What I think I want to do is I want to step up to the next floor and cut that whole floor away and then keep doing that as we go up. That's how I want to do it. And that's mostly what's happening, just not on that first floor. Let's take a look. Let's take a look. I haven't looked at the cutaway code in a long time, which honestly should be its own system at this point. Yeah, and then hold shift or control to lock to a floor. Being able to lock to a floor is something I think you need to be able to turn on. And that would involve kind of like attenuating the ray. If you zoom into a certain level and then you start moving around, when you move around, that is true. I want you to map onto that level that you're on. So I guess it's not that big a change. It'll be weird to manage those two systems. But anyway, how are you doing, Fox? How's stuff going? All right, so what we want to work on is I think it's these interior cutaways. I think it's the cutaway by room where all of this is happening. Serviu. Thank you for the follow. Oh, Fox Shadow jumping over to YouTube. YouTube's so delayed, so you came here. I'm going to let you on a secret. That is not YouTube. I mean, it is YouTube a little bit, but it's mostly me not watching the chat. I would say it's more than 50% my fault when you post a message in YouTube and I don't read it for like a minute. That's mostly
illogical.
Yeah. I would not be so quick to blame YouTube. But welcome over. It's good to see you. It's a fine choice until we hit ads in 5 minutes. Sapphire can confirm it feels delayed here sometimes as well. Yeah. I'm going to be super honest. I don't know how anyone keeps up with chat. Especially when they've like this channel is small. Like we have what, maybe 10 people watching total generally, usually. A little less today. It's kind of quiet on the weekends often. It's very hit or miss, but like we're at a less than 10 kind of day and I still can barely keep up sometimes. Maybe that just speaks to the engagement of everyone here. But yeah, I don't know how people who are streaming to like even just 50 or 100 people talk. The one thing I've noticed is an increase in viewers does not necessarily correlate with an increase in chat, really, in chat intensity. So I think you'll get a lot of lurkers once you start to become more popular as well. But I don't know how you're supposed to do it. Okay, so how does this process even work when we cut away the interiors by room? Can't wait to hit 9.7k points. Look, I'm going to add something for the points. Hey, the Ant, you'd say it's like a 10-second delay on YouTube compared to Twitch. I think it's probably in that neighborhood. It's definitely less than a minute. When you combine it with my own latency, I'm a high latency, interface. Increase in viewers inversely proportional to productivity if one isn't careful. Yeah, that's also very true. Managing the chat becomes like a whole. I love this song. You fixed the bug that you created this morning, Arneo. Good job. You should probably sleep now. Probably. Magoo, this would be far easier in assembly or C. That's wild. That's a wild take. Human music. Yeah, Fox Shadow. So I think it's this bounds extension we're concerned with. So the question is just how we start this out. So what this does is it does a bulk cutaway. What if we just made this a deck cutaway? Does that give me the behavior that I want? Probably not. What does this do? This just handles the room that we're in, right? So maybe not that one. Maybe what we want to do is down here we want to change stuff because this is the where we start to jump up and go back. And yeah, this is the part that I'm concerned about. Hey, the Ant Redeemed skipped the music track. Well, we're on a different music track, and this is the one that we're skipping. You got karma'd. Trying to ruin our fun. All right, ads are starting soon. Hold on to your ads, people. All right, extended bounds, move, back, contains, block coords, cutaways, block coords is deck. Okay. Else if cursored forms has any. So what if I change this? Do I get what I want? I know these are now identical, and if they are, then so be it, but I want to see where this is happening. Me with no ads. Yeah, I see you bouncing back and forth, Ant. You know what I kind of want to do is I kind of want to set up a gradient texture so we can check the corners better. I would rather confirm that the corners are set up correctly before we... Oh, I see why I did this way. I still think this might be better. Like, I see why I did it the other way. Let's see what I like more. I think this is a little weird looking at this. Does it still behave? Okay, at least it doesn't behave weirdly when we're on the edge versus in the middle, so somehow we accidentally fix that. I think this is kind of weird, but I think it'll look kind of good, especially once we have stuff happening in the inner linings, like in the space between walls, like once there's like more like greebles and details and stuff. Sorry, Fox. Sorry you got caught in the ads. Yeah, I think this is the best of what we're gonna get. I don't like it in some cases. Like, I don't like this. But I also can't get around that. I think this will be better, especially if we have a system where people are often putting one set of walls directly above another set of walls. If that doesn't happen, I think it's less of a problem. But if that becomes like a pretty common way to build things, this is better. I kind of like this. I think I can live with this. It's not perfect. I think it's still, there's still problems where like we have cases like this where like there's a wall inside another wall. Or not a wall, there's a room inside of another room kind of situation, but I think we're in better shape. I still don't love whatever's happening here, where it treats this as being part of the other room. I think we need to move away from the bounding box conception of a room. I think we actually need to go back to having like a bit field or something. Or if not a bit field, having like, yeah, I don't know actually. I mean, we have a room bit field. We're just not using it for this cutaways very much. I don't like this. I don't like what's happening back here. Where we're like, it's considering everything in this area to be part of the room. Because that's what the bounding box is saying. And so if I want this to work differently, I need something else going on here. I need to do something else. You know, now that we got the flood fill on a separate thread, we could probably do something more sophisticated there to try to handle cases like this. Where you have like rooms that aren't just simple boxes, simple like rectangles. Hey, clowns123, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. Happy Saturday. All right, you're back. Okay, I can keep going now. Thank you. Thanks, Fox. Okay, back. And Mr. Magoo says that's when your back comes to an agreement in your favor. Yeah. As you get older, there's your relationship with your own back definitely gets tested, you know? All right, so what we're going to do... So it's if any of these cases... So how do I... So we can just say or. We can just make this an or. What the heck? Nope. Oh, I have like a print screen button. That's fun. I'm using a weird keyboard. Using a backup keyboard. I'm like, what? Wait, what button did I press? Magoo, what are you talking about? You're just like posting macros in the chat. You love cherry keyboards, 24F keys. Yeah, I like a more tactical key now. I think I'm like a brown switch enjoyer. I've used blue, I've used red. You've never come across a print screenless keyboard? This is my normal keyboard. And, you know, maybe there's like some alternate mode or function key thing that can do something similar, but it is weird. And as far as I can tell, it does not have a print screen button. But right now I'm using a more standard keyboard. I'm using a standard Keychron K2 or something. I like this. I like a nice 10 keyless. But this isn't my daily keyboard because I need a split keyboard with the ergonomics and stuff. I need this thing. The Primogen Special. It's like, it's got this, it's like raised. You can see how raised it is. It's got a lot going on the thumbs. I can use these regular keyboards when I'm like gaming, I guess, but yeah, I do not want to. This is not my daily driver here. I just need to charge these. My big split keyboard is wireless, so it needs to be charged. It only needs to be charged about like once a month or something, even with daily use, which is pretty slick. Pretty slick for a wireless keyboard. I do leave the lights off, which helps. All right, what the heck are we even going to do now? I was thinking about making some changes to the cutaway system that would better understand how rooms are composed. Let's look at some related systems. Let's look at the flood fill system. If you came in here thinking we were going to be getting a lot done today, I'm sorry. You know, it's probably time soon to split our ECS implementation out into like a plugin or something. Could even split our tile system out into a plugin. I just want to start more I would like my systems to be a little more modular nowadays. Now that they're becoming a little more set. All right, so here we are, flood fill. We're flood filling. We compartmentalize stuff. Somewhere in here. Ah, the compartment hierarchy. Well, this just generates a hierarchy. This doesn't actually set the room fields. We don't actually build a hierarchy anymore. The hierarchy is neat because it lets you know which rooms are in front of other rooms, given a certain perspective. So it's this room bounds thing that we're relying on a lot, and I think we need to stop. I don't think it's giving us the fidelity we want. So where do we set the rooms? Oh, we do it inside the flood fill, right? So during an interior flood fill. So during an exterior flood fill, we just set everything back, right? Something in my eye. Magoo, you use 120 singular wireless keys separated across your desk. That is wild. What's also wild are those ones that are like, they're like switches, but they're like on each side of your finger, so you can move your finger forward or backward, and it's like, I don't remember what those things are called, but I've seen some wild peripherals. I think using weird peripherals is like a slippery slope. You use a stenography keyboard for gaming. Yeah. Bro. So pro. Is this where... No, this is again, we're setting the hierarchy. I wonder if there's anything I can do with this hierarchy that would be better than what we're currently doing. There almost certainly is. I decided not to, and I think it was just to speed up the flood fill system, but now the flood fill system is running on its own thread, so we could do more stuff. So we have a room bounds buffer. So right now, I think all we're doing is we're checking to see what rooms a block is in, and we're using the bounds buffer. We're using the bounds of the room to control the cutaway. I think we need to actually scrutinize each individual block's rooms and actually go by that instead of going just by the bounds. Because we're storing them, they're right here, block rooms. Over 3D read write, block rooms. What's a block rooms? Yeah, it's just a bit field. It's a bit field 64, which is a bit limiting, but we're using it, so we might eventually need to add support for larger fields, which would be a little weird, but actually, you watch this one YouTuber who's creating their own useless keyboard. They've got their keys set up for a fire alarm system and stuff. It's crazy. That sounds kind of wild. All right, so we have this block room struct. We're setting it in the fill system so that every block knows what rooms it belongs to. And it's more than one room because we count the walls at the edge of a room as being part of a room. So a wall will be like, I'm in 2 rooms. Like a normal single wall that has a room on each side will be like, I'm in this room and this room. And that's helpful in a lot of ways. For one thing, it helps you understand, how a hull breach might work. But it also helps you understand how you would cut away based on which rooms you're interested in. Yeah, our current problem is that the number of internal partitions may not exceed 64 because we have this room thing. I think the original reason why I'd switched to the room bounds, which is the axis aligned bounding box that represents like the smallest rectangle that like fully contains a room. I think the reason I tried switching to that was so that we could remove this partition limit. But if we're still beholden to the partition limit, then we should just embrace that. If we can't get rid of it, we should use that to create a higher fidelity cutaway. Use a custom font on VS Code, Magoo. You've never seen anyone else use it. You'll put it in the Discord. Yeah, I'm curious. I definitely, in times past, have been more about that. More interested in like custom fonts and stuff. Like, there was one font I really liked that I would apply. It wasn't unusual, but it was like definitely not the default. And I can't remember what it was because I think I've just given up on that sort of thing. Although I will say I didn't update Writer today or yesterday because my theme plugin was not compatible with the new version yet. All right, so let's look at and talk about the problem that we're trying to address. The problem is like it has to do with rooms encompassing other rooms. And like the thing is like a hallway will be a room. So like if we do something like this, do we actually have a problem or is it only in weirder cases? Like if we just do this and so we've got like a room within a room. Yeah, so this is fine. This is what you'd want to see, you know? This is interesting, this case. And like this is actually exactly what I would want to see. So maybe we're doing okay. The problem is when, so like this is, I feel like is working correctly. Because like you're interested in this room should stay up. It arguably could just cut away the whole room. It's actually kind of interesting that it doesn't. I've told it not to. Because I don't want you to only, like when you're looking in a room, I would like you to still be able to see the details of the room. Like if there's computers or like pillars or like furniture that's tall or something. I don't want to necessarily cut away all the contents of a room just because your cursor's in it. Which is why we take this more like individual approach of like cutting around the cursor. And then we're also going to have like an X-ray vision system too. It won't apply in these cases, but it will apply when there's like a crew member or something interactable that's behind a wall. You'll be able to have like a little X-ray outline of them behind the wall. So you'll still be able to see them even if they're not cutting away around them. So like, I feel like this is fine. Sort of like what's going on here. This is not, or is this fine? Oh yeah, that's fine. What's not fine is like this version of the case. Where like we're gonna throw walls through the middle and create more partitions. And then we're gonna recreate this room here. So this version of it is where I'm like more concerned. When you have something like this, like you could see how something like this could come up. Like maybe there are doors around. Oh, there's a problem with the doors, right? I remember noticing that and then ignoring it because we had bigger fish to fry. Oh, we're seeing the same thing again where we're getting like weird. I think I kind of understand why this is happening. Stuff like this is strange. Are we right at the edge? We are right at the edge. We need to do something about our for loop where we like correctly cut away when we're at the edge. When there's nowhere to loop. I mean, technically what we want to do is we want to not allow for an edge like this. We'd want to dynamically resize up to some point. But that does mean we still need to support an actual limit. So why does that work when it's a double door, but not when it's a single door? What if it's a triple door? Yeah, and if it's a triple door, it just straight up doesn't render. Fascinating. All right, so we have some door trubs. This is also weird, whatever's happening here. I don't love this. And then this is strange too, because look at what's happening here. Like, I kind of understand why we're cutting away this room, and I kind of understand why we're cutting away this room. I don't understand why we're all ending up all the way here. Is it because it's taking this and it's taking the bounding box and it's looking to see what's in the bounding box and it sees that this room is in the bounding box for this room, and maybe it's conflating them together and treating them as if they were one room? That could be happening, I guess. Ooh, the partial cutaway with the door looks pretty slick though. All right, so what's going on with these doors? Let's start with why the single door is getting the wrong hall color. Mr. Cheat to the bed. All right, take it easy, Mr. Magoo. Sapphire, it's the first time you've seen anything other than a gray wall getting put down. It's still just a gray wall. They're just doors. All right, where do I think this door problem is? I think there is something happening here, maybe, where we're like misidentifying when we should draw a door or not. Doors, try get value, hull key dot xyz, outdoor tile value. So when it's a single door, it's an inner hull, we go x+1. I think that's the opposite of what we're supposed to do. I think that's not how we've arranged the tile sets. Let's take a look. So yeah, it's inner first, then outer. And then when we get to the triple door, are we in like a weird shape where like there's... Yeah. Oh, wait, what? Why did I do it this way? Why didn't I use margins? Super weird. Okay. So what are these? Minus 810. 810. Yeah, why did I do it like this? Yeah, we'll recreate this with the margins so that you're not getting like the left part here being 6, 0. It should all be 0, 0. For whatever source ID you're at, you should start at 0, 0. Should not start at something like 6, 0 or whatever. So we will fix this. We're just gonna do it. Well, I can't delete it and remake it because we know that doesn't work. I'll just do this. Well, hold on. This is actually one of the only ones that's correct. This one's wrong. So margins should be 64. Nope, that's too much. 32. Yeah, that's good. Make all of these. Rebuild these. Select these. So this is supposed to be minus 8. 10. This one should be, these should be positive 8. 10. 10, he said. These, delete these. All right. I appreciate everyone hanging out today. I know this has been a pretty lazy, unfocused kind of day. All we've really done is roll back stuff and change a few things. I definitely feel like I'm already on vacation. All right, so this should be 96, 32, 96. Yeah. It's arguable why I would, no, that's fine, I guess. Nothing wrong with lazy streams. Good, because we've been getting them a lot lately. It's because we're not... I don't want to dive into anything new yet. We're getting ready to, like, go work on another major system or something. Like, probably, like, save load or something like that. Like we're getting towards the end of auto tiler dev. And so I'm kind of just in like fiddle with the auto tiler mode. And I consider a number of systems to be adjacent enough that like cutaway system is part of the tile system right now. Or the cutaways are part of the tile system right now. They shouldn't be, but they are, so. We're still doing that kind of stuff. And then we'll dive into something bigger and more interesting and new. There just needs to be prep for doing something like that. I can't just start something new without any prep. It's so much easier to just refactor stuff and everything on stream because it's stuff I've already figured out. Even when it's embarrassing and it's like I refactor something and then I realize why I hadn't done that refactor before. It's because it broke everything and we roll it back. Sometimes that's what it takes, but whatever. All right, so let's see if well, let's double check the code first. Because I know something in here is wrong. So this should say if it's hull dot oh. This should say hull dot outer, not inner. So hull dot outer, we do that modification. Nix, you made some very basic generic kit bash interior wall and floor parts. Now you gotta create a new version of it and texture it. That sounds good. Sounds like work, but yeah, sounds good. All right, I think the doors will be moderate, will be pretty much correct now. I do need to figure out that issue with the cutaway system when we get to the edge of the buildable area. It behaves very weirdly. So we have this testing shape. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this room in the middle. This is the kind of thing that we're working on, trying to understand here. How this kind of works. Is it just aggressively cutting in front of the room? Is that actually what's happening? It is, isn't it? So how are we gonna respond to this issue of like it thinks that this is the size of the room. It thinks that this room extends into this room, and that's how it's treating it. Well, in good news, the auto tiler is working perfectly. In good news, everyone. I still think I want to test the corners somehow before we move on, rather than like eventually adding a texture with corners and then having to deal with the fact that the auto tiler doesn't work. But I don't know. It might be a waste of time to do right now. I understand why we lost our grid, our center grid. I kind of enjoyed it, but we've had some suggestions for other ideas of how to like measure space when you're like selecting things. So what's happening here though? Oh yeah, you see this? See, we're in this front room and how it's cutting this square out. Even though the room doesn't extend that far back, it just extends to this wall. That's that room bounds thing kicking in again. Which I think we don't like. I especially don't like the way it works here. Are we doing something different when we reach the edge than when we... No, because we're doing the same thing in the middle here. This is weird. We should be fully cutting away this edge, and we're not. Why is that not happening in this case? All right, time to mess around. Time to F around and find out. Just so much of a game dev. All right, back up to the cutaway. So if we wanted to separate this out into its own system, how would we do that? That would be pretty easy, wouldn't it? Because what do we do at the beginning of the system? All we really do, we derive this... Oh, you know what the problem might be? Do we depend on this information to determine the cutaway? The bulk layer data? Do we pass these in? We do. But wait, do we use the tile data? Because this sets the tile data. That's all this does, right? Or the hulls, excuse me. You know, maybe the whole system should be its own system. You know what I'm saying? So we grab this stuff. We grab the Atlas index buffers, which we need for something. We determine the hull type stuff. Then down here, we start setting up the cutaways. We grab the cutaway buffer. We clear it. Grab the room bounds. If it looks like we're in a room, if rooms.has any and roombounds.length is greater than 0, we then do the cutaway. And then the cutaway only is concerned. Let's see if the cutaway uses any. No, these are static functions. These don't use any characteristics from this system. So this could totally be its own system. That doesn't help a lot, but I prefer to have single responsibility systems. I don't like nesting systems in other systems, really. I like having system groups. So where do we use the rooms in this process? Where do we refer to this? What is this being used for? So cursored rooms is rooms.getAbsolute, cursor rewards. No, it's not the rooms, it's the bounds. Where do we use these bounds? Buffer read only bounds. Not these bounds, these bounds. Okay, so we established the bounds of the cursor. So we can't use this. If we want to... Oh, so this is how we step this up. We do this extended bounds thing. That's how we're creating the terrorist effect. We're using that bounding box to recede this thing. But we don't actually need to do it that way. We could do it a different way. We could very much do it a different way. We'd want to do it as like a list or something, some kind of like... Well, we do it as a buffer is what we do. You would have some buffer, probably owned by the cutaway system. Actually, is this consumed outside of the cutaway system, or is this only used in here? It's declared locally, so I think the answer is no. I don't think it's used anywhere. Okay. Okay. So what if we get rid of this? Well, you know what we're going to do is let's make a cutaway system and let's build it in this new image. And then we can disable or enable the tile systems version as a point of comparison. So let's make a new system. Systems are classes. Make a class called cutaway system. Sealed class. I don't like this. I don't like this namespace DI. Like, I don't like including the actual systems as part of the ECS. This is like an implementation detail. This is part of the reason why I want to split off the ECS from like the systems that make use of it. But I don't know. I think that's actually kind of like, it's like, will I ever use this for like a game jam, the system? Probably not. Do I want to have to maintain different versions of it? Not really. The thing is, I'm still trying to decide how I want to architect our side project, Lo-Fi Flyby. I kind of want to just... I've gotten a lot of advice about it, and I think the smartest thing to do is to just keep it in this project. But I don't quite know how I'm going to do that. Have like multiple games that derive from the same Godot project. I don't know if that's actually doable in the long run. I'm kind of interested in trying it, at least in the short term. Because otherwise you have to manage the update process, and then you might end up getting like on parallel tracks where you're like making decisions that are specific to one implementation that can't really be backported to the more general implementation. So we need a ready function, we need a run function. I still want to implement some kind of interface or something for the systems so that I can make some promises about what a system does. But right now, we like don't care. Do I need any of these constants? These are just tile-specific constants, aren't they? Yeah, they are. Do I need any of this stuff? No. What I do need is this cutaway blocks entity. So this is going to get moved here. This actually might be a bit of a problem that it's in both places, but you know, it'll be fine. So we've got our pack tile data entity. Should this say just pack tile map data, or can we just say pack tile data? I think I want to just call it tile data. This is one of the many simple refactoring tools I would love to just have in Godot. So this thing is this, so we need to redefine it here. Thanks everyone for hanging out. I know this is a very chill stream today, or lazy stream as Nick said. But it's good. I think I got a little worked up yesterday during our AI discussion, which I will not repeat. It's just hard not to have like a passionate opinion about that stuff. Because it affects our bread and butter, right? Like it affects us pretty deeply. Raccoon, yeah, let's focus on the real important. the important news of the day, which is the self-domestication of raccoons. That's the only news that we need. Celebrate. Let's celebrate. I hope that one day humans and raccoons will be able to live in peace, you know, and I think this is a step in that direction. What are you talking about, Fox? Trash pandas forever. I think of a quote from our President George W. back when the stuff he did was funny and concerning, but now when you look back on it, it's just funny. During a speech at one point, he said something along the lines of like, I hope that one day fish and humanity may live in peace. And that's just what I think about when I think about this raccoon stuff. I think it's when he created his marine sanctuary, which each president generally does. Create or expand some big marine sanctuary somewhere. I don't know if this one's going to do that. But yeah. A toast to our trash panda compatriots. All right, so how do we do the rest of this? So we don't need to wait until we derive the hull data. We can just do it here. So we're just going to take this part, because this is the governing part. Throw this in here. You don't know about vector 3 eyes, okay? That's easy. Using di.vi. Okay, you don't know about this either. So do we want to do anything with this room bounds stuff? I'm kind of gonna get rid of room bounds. We're gonna try to rebuild this without room bounds. So we're gonna stop using this. So this is game.editSystem.settled blocks room bounds buffer. So yeah, we potentially want to mark that for deprecation probably, but we're not going to do that because we don't properly manage anything here. So we have this get component, and we get this new buffer, and then we clear it. We need if there was a better way to do that. How does your clear function work? You just clear the underlying span. That's, I guess, the best thing you can do. Hey, hydrate. Yeah, thank you. Oh, and a stretch. Okay, if you insist. I think we're doing okay work today. I don't know if we're going to finish it. But I think we're doing okay, okay work today. We got one more stream before I go on vacation. So we will have our usual Tuesday stream. Okay, so if we're not using the room bounds, what are we doing? So we can just get rid of this part. Preview block room. So we need to grab these preview blocks, obviously. So let's do that. So we're gonna need those. Here they are. What do we need? Do we need the forms and the rooms? We do. Oh, I see why I did this the way I did this. These are too long. Oh, we'll just do that for consistency. So who owns this? This is... I think I need to change some of the system hierarchy here. The fact that the tile system and the cutaway system are owned by the edit system is wrong. The auto tiling system and the cutaway system belong to the view system group, not the edit system group, because you're going to be viewing the tiles in the cutaway whether or not you're in edit mode. But let's not worry about that right now. For now, we'll continue to nest it within the edit system group, which we don't actually have an edit system group mechanism. We just have systems that run other systems. But so how do we want to do this? So the tool system runs, the fill system gets ready, the tile system. So how do we run this? So we run this system. Where is the... Where do we run these from? It's got to be in here somewhere, right? So this is where we sync the buffers, which again, I think we're getting rid of this room bounds thing. Getting rid of this will be nice. I call these valid. I think I'm going to call them certs, but cert or something. I don't know. Whatever. Valid is fine. Oh yeah, where do we run this stuff from? We run the search system. We run the fill system. Tool count is greater than that. You run all this stuff. If the sync buffer changes, otherwise, if the sync is complete, you do that. Ah, we run it right here. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to say game dot cutaway system. Oops. Oh yeah, you don't even know about this system yet, huh? Dot run. Well, let's teach you about it. Game.systems. This is the first system that's not just a 4-letter word, which is good. I need to break out of that habit. I feel like you go through cycles as a programmer where you're like, I like long descriptive names that make it very clear what they do. And then you do that for a while, and then you're like, I like short names that don't take up much space. And then you do that for a while, and you're like, time to go back to long descriptive names. All right, so now we need the, excuse me, now we need these functions. Grab these 3 functions from the tile system here, and we'll start tweaking them for our new purpose here. Is this all of it? There's 2 functions here. Where's the exterior? Oh, there's the exterior. Hey, Naztec Empire. Do you have a moment? Could you briefly tell us about why you started streaming and what your expectations were as a game development streamer? You're doing research? Yeah, sure. Those are great questions. All right, let me make sure I understand the question. Why I started streaming, what my expectations were as a game development streamer. Ah, okay, interesting. So we started almost a couple of years ago, pretty close to a couple of years ago, in February 2024. It was when I started. It was when I started the current version of this project. I'd been using Godot for a few months. I'd been using it since October of 2023. So I'd been doing little prototypes and experiments in Godot, having moved over from Unity. And the switch to Godot kind of coincided with the one part of the prototype cycle, where I like started a new version of a prototype kind of from the ground up. It kind of turned into this project, which is an isometric take on FTL fast and light. Why I started. So there's probably two angles. One angle is marketing, which is like I think people are identifying that the market is so saturated that you kind of need to build an audience. Unless you just get lucky and become like a viral hit, you kind of need an audience to be there for you when you release something. Like you can't just, if you build it, they will come is not like a thing. That might have been a thing in the past, but it's not like a thing anymore. So part of it was I knew I was going to work on this project that's like very long, like many years. And I figured I could develop the project and develop my audience at the same time. And it's kind of worked out in that sense. As the channel is growing, the game is also growing, and the game is more interesting, which causes the channel to grow more. It's still pretty simple. Like we're still just gray boxing everything, and we're working on like editor tools 90% of the time, 100% of the time. And my expectations. Oh, the other reason I started was like accountability, which was like it's way too easy to just when you're doing this as like a side project, as like a hobbyist thing. It's way too easy to just be like, I don't feel like doing it today. And then you end up not feeling like doing it this week or this month or this year. And like, that's how projects die. It's like the death of motivation. And so I thought this was a good accountability mechanism. Because even if no one's watching me, I still have a schedule and I still try to keep it. I try to stream 5 days a week. I try to stream 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. I don't always hit it. I either cut a day or we have like a 2-hour stream. So there's flexibility. And then as far as the expectations, I never expected to like make money. So, and we don't really, we nominally make some money. Hey, Prosto Catilo. Oh, coming in with the Trash Panda emote. Perfect. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I expected. You know, I think I expected to be streaming like no one was watching for a long time, and that didn't happen. Like, it's not like my channel's big or I have a lot of viewers, but like our community kind of formed itself pretty quickly. Maybe after like a year. And we're coming up on 2 years here, and we've got a nice little core little community that checks in. It's growing on our Discord server. Yeah, I don't know. If you have any follow-up questions, let me know. I kind of went on about that for a while. Sapphire, streaming's an accountability mechanism you hope to take advantage of in the future. Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's great. Aramis said it recently where he was like, I think he's taking a break from YouTube and streaming and stuff to finish his game, a game about a black hole. That's literally its title. And he was like, you know, I love streaming. I love making videos, but the return on investment is so low that like, it's hard to justify sometimes. And like, I get that. So I've tried to never, like someday we'll do devlogs. Someday we'll do devlogs once we have like a Steam page up and we have something we're trying to like get people to like sign up for. We're trying to get wish lists and stuff. I think then I'll start. I think that's when we hit the next level and we try to get more out of streaming. Specifically not streaming, but like videos, like devlogs. I think that'd be the next expansion for me. But we're not doing that yet. We're probably at least another year away from taking that seriously. We might start to look at it next year if I can wrap up this block editor tool. That was perfect. Thank you. I hit on a lot of decent points. Oh, good. I'm glad. Yeah, thanks for asking the question. Thanks for hanging out here with us. We're hitting ads again on the Twitch side. But yeah, thanks for hopping in. What are you working on that you're doing this research for? Okay, what is this? What do I need? What do I need for this? System. Using system. Yeah, duh. Okay, so the only one we have a problem with, so the block cutaways are declared, the preview block forms are declared, the preview block rooms are declared. So what is this? Invert the if. Yeah, I guess I can actually. But how are you doing, Prosto? All right, so we're rebuilding this cutaway system as a separate system. This version, cutaway interior blocks by cursored rooms. This is our problem because this bounds thing, this is going away. So we need to rewrite this for this. I also think I want to... Oh, maybe I don't. Oh, maybe I do. Naztec, you're writing a paper about virtual communities, specifically in the indie game space. The part about the saturation of the game market ties in well with it too. Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I think we're in an age where, you know, everything is so oversaturated that organizing the community like that is pretty crucial for, I think, a game dev. Like, I've been playing a lot of Arc Raiders, and that community has been very interesting. It's been a lot more wholesome than I thought it would be as like a vicious, you know, extraction shooter thing. It's actually pretty great. That doesn't have anything to do with what we were talking about. It's just interesting. Virtual communities are interesting. I'm still learning about how to like nurture a virtual community, which is like my community. It's been an interesting experience. All right, so we don't have this bounds thing anymore. We create this. This is how we've been creating things, so I don't think we can do it like this. I think the best thing we could do is to have like a list. So what if we just... So we don't want a list of bounding box positions. We want a list of coordinates. That's how we're going to do it for now. Well, when you finish that paper, please share it. on our Discord, or if or you know, drop it in the chat sometime. I'd love to check back in and see how that works out. It sounds like a really interesting subject, and I'm sure I could learn something from it. Sapphire, you just need to be constantly refactoring an auto tiler. Yeah, we'll get there. Episode 512 next. That's when you're calling it. The auto tiler is almost done, I swear. The block editor tool is maybe not quite as done, and I know it's easy to like conflate the two. All right, so what we've been doing is this cursored bounds thing. We've been moving the bounds, which is interesting. So instead, what we want to do is we want to create this list of like, I'm going to call this cursored coords. Actually, we might, oh, we actually already have cursor coords. So instead, what we want to do is we want to say like, cutaway coords. Actually, we could probably just say coords, but we have cursor coords, so let's be a little more precise. So we're gonna have this cutaway coords list. We're gonna say for each room in the cursored rooms. So for each room in the cursored rooms, what would the better loop be for this? Would it be better to go by room and then check coordinates? Actually, the better thing to do would be to go through all of the coordinates. So let's iterate through the rooms buffer. Rooms, get absolute cursor coords. Do I need this get absolute call? Takes relative coordinates. Are we really pulling relative coordinates here? Oh yeah, because they're cursor coordinates. Of course they're relative. Sapphire, you do believe I've been working on specifically the auto tiler since you've joined? You don't know how long before that, of course. You're on a stream streak of 24. Oh, it's been a lot of auto tiler. Let's not beat around the bush. There's been a lot of auto tiling. It's been, the thing is, it's hard for me to separate them because the auto tiler isn't really part of the editor tool, but it's like we're working on the auto tiler because the editor tool makes use of it. Like we obviously need to be able to see what we're making. So I consider it part of like the work we've been doing on the block editor, but it really isn't. Really isn't. So I have a hard time detangling those. But yeah, it's been a lot of, this year has been very much, you know, the block editor tool, the auto tiler, that's it. The end of last year is when we started working on our entity component system, which is when we really started rebuilding the game in C#, where we like abandoned our initial like GDScript prototypes that were like all of the data was anchored directly into tile maps. And we started splitting it off into this separate area. So we've been working on that part on like the C# simulation layer. We've been working on that since the end of last year. So we're coming up on a year for that. If you count the time spent making the entity component system framework. And we've just been building stuff out from there. So yeah, the block editor tool, I would like to finish it, you know, early next year. We'll see. Yeah, you can tell I think of the auto tiler as part of the edits, the block editor, because it's like a child of the edit system. And that's wrong. Okay, so I don't think we actually want to loop through each. I don't think we actually want to do it like this. I don't think we want to loop through each room. So do we want to store these coordinates in relative terms? Like we obviously have to search the preview block, the block buffer in absolute terms, but when we store it in these cutaway coordinates, cursor bounds is view relative, extended bounds. So we need to recreate this terrace effect, but we need to do it like block by block. Have a great rest of the stream. Oh, take it easy, Nix. You're gonna go make some food, prepare for sleeping. Yeah, please do. Get some rest. So for variable z equals 1, z is less than or equal to cursor coords dot z, z plus plus. So what we want to do is we want to... So we're kind of forgetting this whole section. I'm going to comment this out. We're going to need a reference to it. So this is powered by the extended bounds. So we use the bounds to mark cutaways because it builds this kind of it helped us create this terraced like rectilinear structure kind of thing. Like an upside down ziggurat. And we need to recreate that, but it's not going to be quite as clean because we're going to be doing it coordinate by coordinate. So let's do that down here. So what I want to do... So we use this offset, which is interesting. Why? Cursor coords dot z minus... Oh, because we're counting up to 0. Up to 0. We're counting down to 0, which means going up. Because actually, z level 0 is the top, and then we count. It's Godot, so the enemy's gate is down. Godot 2D. So what I want to do instead... Block rooms, cursored rooms, rooms.get absolute cursor coords. So we get the corresponding absolute coordinate for the cursor coord. And then what we do is we want to go, we know what rooms there are. So now what we want to do, we have this list of coordinates to cut away. We want to iterate through that list on the first level. I could probably do the same loop that I do here. The loop that I do up here. During the, where we derive the layer data. So we do this start end stuff. We probably need to know the tile level count. That should actually probably be a constant that sits on at the game level or something. I don't know. Probably shouldn't be down this low. Do I need to know that though? Actually, I might not need to know that because we're counting down to 0 from whatever the cursor coord z level is. So maybe I actually don't need to know that. So what we can do instead is we can say forms, rooms. Hey, Hex, how's it going? You asked me, and then I asked you right back. It's good, it's good. We're messing around with some stuff. We're trying to get a more precise cutaway model. We were kind of cheating by just doing bounding box stuff. But that's not accurate enough for me anymore. So we're rewriting it a little bit. The system that lets us like peer into these dense 3D shapes or 3D, areas like a ship interior, and like cut away the parts of it so we can see inside. Yeah, it's good stuff. How are you doing? How's it Godoting? I like never get tired of that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna define the start and the end with z equals cursor towards dot z. And we'll go through here. And we'll do this iteration here. Do we need to worry about cutting away something that's empty? Should I care about that? Like, should we do something like this where we're like, we have the forms here, right? We have access to that? We do, okay. I kind of want to iterate based on the rooms, though. Like, should we skip? Actually, let's forget about the forms. I don't think we actually care about the forms very much. Forms. Block forms, cursor forms, get absolute cursor coords. Oh, you know, that maybe explains some behavior we were having earlier. But yeah, let's not do that. Let's forget about that right now. Let's just do this. Do it based on the rooms. Well, hold on. Oh, no. So the Z is right. And then what we need to do is we need to get the camera relative position. Or do we? No, we don't actually care about that anymore, huh? Because we know what rooms relate to the cursor, to where the coordinates where the cursor is. And so actually for this phase, we don't actually care about that. It's been going on for a while. Oh yeah, everything I do I've been doing for a while. Your Godoting is good. Currently bogged down in non-engine specific stuff. Yeah, a lot of what I'm doing is also non-engine specific at the moment because, you know, it's just our own. We're just working in our own system, right? I'm working in my own, you know, separate system here. So we're going to iterate through all of the coordinates in this. And what we're going to do is we're going to say if rooms dot get index. Why do I say rooms.get index? Shouldn't I just say rooms index? Oh, there is no index. It's just I. Dot has any. Oh my god. I'm not using my daily driver keyboard and I'm having such a hard time. This takes no parameters, so that's not what I want. I want a has any that does a. Why don't I have that here? Why is that not something that I support? I probably support that at the bit field level, so I probably can just open that up. Has any where you pass in a value. Yeah, that's easy. Let's do that. So here what I'm going to do is we're going to say public bool has any block room. Oops. Block rooms. Rooms. Easy. Hex. You're finding that Godot is a bit more prone to renames, refactors compared to Unity, as in losing some data in the process. Not a deal breaker, though. Also might be a skill issue. No, I don't think it is. I think you're right. When I'm doing a game jam and I'm doing everything in GDScript, there's a lot of times where I just don't refactor something because I don't want to have to go find all of the places it touches and do it. Like, I do miss having the good tools that I'm used to here in JetBrains Writer. So yeah, I think you're right. I think refactoring in Godot is a little frustrating sometimes, and certainly not as nice as it could be. So if rooms has any, so if we have any of these rooms in our block, then we're gonna do stuff. So if we have any of these, then what we're going to do... Well, so we have this list of cutaway coords. So we have a separate cutaways buffer. We write to this because multiple things write to this. So is maintaining a separate list just wrong? I think it's unnecessary. Unless the issue is... I'm actually not sure how I want to approach that. So let's do as little as possible for right now. So if we identify a coordinate, a block that belongs to the same room as the room that our cursor is currently in, we should record that coordinate at a minimum. So right now we could say cutaway. I don't really want to do it this way. I kind of want to do it in the cutaways buffer that we already have, but that doesn't totally work unless we instantly form a cutaway. Like, unless we actually cut away in there right away, it doesn't actually work. Because it's a buffer 3D, which means it's a volume. It's not just a list of things. Whereas this is at least just a list of things. And this is not terribly efficient, but we're going to do it. So we're going to say, we can say rooms dot get coords I. So we can at least mark that room. And then so what we can do is we can go through this list afterwards, maybe. So where do I do the... How How do I do the trick? So I think we're using this bounding box to do a neat little trick where we offset the box in which we want to cut away, and that creates that terraced kind of look a little bit. We also extend it as we move it around, which we're not going to do exactly this way, but we can do it like this. So we have block forms, cursored forms, get absolute cursor rewards. So we know the forms. So this I feel like explains some of the behavior we were saying earlier, where if we were like mousing over a wall, we were getting different behavior than if we moused inside of the room. I don't exactly want that, so we're not gonna do it like this either way, where we were getting this. And then so can we actually do... Can we just do it as a loop where we say something like for integer z equals cursor chords.z. Z is less than or equal to 0. Z minus minus. I don't exactly like doing it that way, but it's pretty straightforward for what we're doing. And then if we do it this way, we don't actually have different behavior for the different levels, which I kind of prefer. Although I don't know if that's exactly going to work because of the way that this actually occurs, the way this actually happens. You know what we might want to do on Z levels higher than the level that we're starting on is use some kind of bounding box. But maybe not. Maybe what we're going to do is we're just going to keep expanding the list out. So we'll do something like... So we do have this offset, which is interesting. And yeah, so what we're doing it the simple way here, where we just extend the bounding box. As we go up, we just extend it. But what we want to do here... Instead of that... So the way we're going to do this is we're just going to say, so we'll do it like this, then we will do this again. Except Z is going to just equal Z. Hey! Miralino. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. Happy Saturday. Hex, you don't know, but you hope there's at least a rubber duck debugging effect coming with the stream. Just the fact that I'm keeping at it. If I wasn't streaming, I'd be super distracted. I'd be like watching like Star Trek, or like I'd be like, you know, I could be playing Arc Raiders. I don't have to be working right now. There's a lot of benefits to the stream for me. If you were talking about for you, I don't know. I'm sorry. Hopefully it's helpful to you. All right. So if we have any rooms, if we match any rooms, we add the cutaway chords. We go through this. We can say integer I equals 0 start, I is less than n, I plus plus. So what we want to do here as we go up. Oh, this is why we have this offset. Right. So we can say the offset. We can define the offset here. So here the offset is just this. You always assume you'd be too distracted to talk and figure things out at the same time. You suppose you could get used to it? Yeah, you do get used to it. I think there's definitely a level of engagement where you start to suffer in terms of productivity, but I'm nowhere near that. My streams are nice and quiet. All right, so we're kind of doing the same thing here, except we're doing it coordinate by coordinate. So we're going to go, so as we go up, so also for one thing, so if the offset is 0, that's fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a coordinate. We're going to say coords equals, well, do I actually want to iterate through by index in this case? I guess I do. You know, I could do this in a funny way where we have like, nah, well, this is better. It might make more sense to do this as a buffer than just a list that we have in here locally, but I think right now this is better. So what I want to do essentially is as we go through and we check all of these, because this is the part where we actually qualify whether we want to do a cutaway and we expand the cutaway area. So I actually think I do want this part where we say if cursor coords.z equals 0 return, because I guess I do want different behavior on the base layer than I do on the higher layers. So I think that was right. So let's use that again. Instead of defining z as cursor coords.z, we'll say it's cursor to coords.z minus 1. Actually, what we can do is we can do what we did below, where we define z as 1. We'd say z is 1, z is less than or equal to cursor coords dot z. Should it be less than or equal towards? Oh yeah, because that will get us to 0, right? Z plus plus. I don't like doing minus minus when I'm doing an iterator like this. I'd even rather do it this way, where I do this and then I set it up differently. So we got z. So we've got z equals. So instead of z being this, actually, then z needs to be this isn't even offset z, is it? This is like the actual z layer. Well, let's say offset z here then. Do you have like a long-term overview of where you're at and how much there's still to do, or more like developing organically for the game in general? It's organic. I do have a very high-level roadmap we can look at. So this is like a very high-level roadmap. So we're kind of in alpha land, obviously, pre-alpha land. We're working our way towards this sort of thing. We're working on this, the tile block editor. The next step after the tile block editor is to work on like a simulation for the ship, like a shipboard simulation of like what happens in the ship. How does power move through it? How does oxygen move through it, etc. After that, so these are the two things that we'll need to like actually build a ship and have it, you know, have some kind of interior life, right? Once we have that, we want to start working on like a scenario editor where we can set up scenarios like FTL of like, you jump in, there's an ambush. You jump in, there's a wreck that you can salvage or something. Or you jump in and there's like a colony asking for help, then they'll send you on this quest or something. So scenario editor will be pretty crucial because it'll determine what happens when you arrive somewhere, right? And then we need this, the 9-box battlefield, which is really just like a fairly abstracted game board which governs the behavior between ships. So like the 9-box battlefield kind of implies that your ship is in the middle of the 9-box, and so it can have other things on its sides. So it's got a little more positionality than FTL, but not much. And that's where we set up things like, how do you shoot lasers at another ship? What happens when you fire a torpedo? You know, stuff like that. So we're still working on the first quarter of what I would consider an alpha MVP. So there's a lot to do. Did you experiment with any simulation stuff? Yeah, we did. So the original prototype for this game, before we did the separate simulation layer with my ECS and everything, I did a pretty basic setup, but we had crew members running around and stuff. But the whole game was like, the data was like coupled tightly with the contents of the tile maps. Whereas now the data is totally separate, you know? And the tile map layers are just the rendering result. So we've definitely prototyped that stuff. What really hurt me is I have a side project that I want to work on. But we can't really start thinking about it until we already have this part done, and arguably some of this. So we'll see. I have a pretty clear idea of how we're gonna go through the future in the abstract. But in the short term, yeah, it's pretty open-ended. Like, we have a Kanban board for the tile block editor, but I like never look at it. Like, I think it's here. We're still doing preparatory work to implement the invalid block tile mask. Like technically this is what I'm supposed to be working on, but I'm doing so many other random things. So I don't find this kind of stuff super useful outside of like if I have a deadline. Like when I do a game jam, I find a task list pretty useful because I have an actual deadline, but yeah. Like we've been working on auto tile corner cases forever. And we did this split overlays outlines thing. So these are the kind of things we did most recently. And I'm still working on random stuff. Like right now I'm rewriting the cutaway system, which is probably over here somewhere. Yeah, the block cutaway system. So this is technically complete, but we're like rewriting it. So I don't know. Should I put it back under here? Like, I don't know. I do kind of very much have an approach of I sit down, I look at the thing, and I decide, and whatever the most obvious thing to work on is, that's kind of what I work on. The 9-box approach seems cool. Yeah, I'm really hoping it will be interesting. I'm hoping it'll be a nice mid-ground between actually having to fly the ship around and having there be no positional stuff. Because there's some fun stuff of like, oh, the shields are dropping on our, or like our gun, our left side gun is not working, so like let's turn around so we can fire with the other gun. Or like our back shields are like dropping, so let's turn around and try to like expose a different side of the ship to the weapons fire. Like, or like maybe you have someone on the outside of your ship trying to repair something and you're trying to like keep the enemy away from that side. Like, I'm hoping there will be some, it's going to be very board gamey, but I'm hoping there will be some interesting stuff there. Fingers crossed for things coming together well. The project definitely seems compelling. Thanks. Yeah, it is. It's very big. It's very big. It's very nebulous, you know. I don't mind working on something big and nebulous. I find it kind of reassuring in a way. I mean, I'm still really glad that I've done a lot of game jams in the last couple of years, and I'm hoping to do more next year. Like, that definitely scratches a different itch, but I kind of like this too. I kind of like this big project that's so huge that I'm only ever looking at like one small part of it. I kind of enjoy that. This is an after hours thing. Yeah, no, I have a day job. I try to stream it 3 days a week for about 3 hours a day. So we probably work on it about 12 to 15 hours a week on stream. And then I have some game dev co-working events at night a few days a week. So I try to work on it then as well. So it's probably like a 20 to 25 hour a week project. So like halftime, it's probably a halftime project. So, you know, there's only so much. Yeah, same for you. Yeah. I like it. I'm actually kind of glad. I think as soon as your games become your only source of income, your relationship to the work changes fundamentally. And like, I'm not ready for that yet. I mean, I'm obviously not ready in terms of I don't make money from my games, but like, I don't know if psychologically I'm ready to like give up my hobbyist mentality and become like a professional game developer. Sapphire, you think the game jams help boost morale by providing the feeling of making a lot of progress on something in a short amount of time? Oh yeah, and it lets me do the whole loop instead of just the beginning, because I learn a lot. There's stuff you can only learn when you do a full production loop. There's stuff you can only learn from finishing, right? And we spend most of our time starting. So everyone's an expert on starting. But it's way harder to gain experience in finishing, you know? All right, what am I supposed to be doing in this loop? I'm supposed to be like looking at individual components, checking to see if they belong, or looking at individual coordinates and checking to see if they have neighboring coordinates. Actually, we want to do two different loops. We want to do a loop where we expand the cutaway area, and we want to do another loop where we actually assign cutaway values. Is I think how. So first, what we should do is we should start going up this Z level thing. Actually, if we do that, we can do it like this, huh? Yeah. So we need to do the Z level first. Or we need to do level 0 first, which is this. Okay, I think we need to do this first, and then we do this part where we go do the higher levels. Distracted successfully? Yeah, you got me. No, it's okay. I really don't feel like doing a lot of hard work right now. I'm definitely enjoying the stream aspect. I think we're gonna end up finishing this on Tuesday. I hope we finish it on Tuesday, because I'm going on vacation after that. Hex, you'd love to quit your day job and focus on your own dev, but also not starve. Yeah, exactly. No, the comfort, the safety and security, especially in this, I mean, depending on where you are, but I think in general, I think people are kind of hugging onto their jobs right now, you know, holding them close. Not starving is important. It is. It is. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna look at the offset. So we look at all of the. So z-1. So we go up 1. And then what we're gonna do, we're gonna say variable coords equals Do I need to be concerned about the relative coordinates here? I do. So I need to say something like coords is rooms I actually, do we want to store these as... So I got all these coordinates. I'm grabbing these coordinates. I'm adding them. I'm storing them as absolute coordinates. That will make the comparison easier. So what I can do is I can say coordinates is rooms. Actually, can I just query this? Can I say if cutaway coords dot has or dot contains rooms I dot get... Actually, can we just say rooms dot get coords I? Yeah, that's what we're doing here. Rooms dot get coords I. Okay, it's this with z equals offset z equals cursor coords dot z. However, it's not just this. So there's the aspect of this which is confusing to me, which is the expansion of the area we want to cut away. Can't make games if you starve, eh? I think it would be a lot harder. So what we do down here is we extend this out. We say vector 3 out max. We say take the minimum of the bounds, reduce it by 1 or 0. So we have a cap there at 0. Otherwise, what we do is and then we expand the maximum with z being currently the offset z. And then we say for each coordinates in this extended boundary, so there actually is an area we want to make. We want to make an area around each of these coordinates in this list. So is actually that the easier way to do this? As we go up in Z level, rather than iterate through the entire... This doesn't actually support rooms that are larger than 1 Z level, which I guess is fine for now. You think it's time to head out for the night? Catch you Tuesday. Thanks, Sapphire. Hope you have a great weekend. We'll probably wrap it up soonish as well. I don't think we're gonna crack the code on this today, which is fine. We're not doing this destructively. The existing system continues to work. We're just trying to spin this off and change the way it works from running off of just a raw bounding box to being a little more precise. We're looking for a little more precision in our cutaway model. I honestly think that compartment hierarchy was pretty good. We could probably actually use it. kind of want to look at how we currently do this for a second here. Crash, turn, component, get component, ND indices, interchunk, ND ind. Oh, is there more than one of these now? The given key cutaway buffer was not present in the dictionary. Was it not? Oh, well, we shouldn't be running this system. Cutaway system. Let's not run this system. Is that the source of the problem? If not, we have a separate problem of like entity registration. No, that was the problem. Okay. So when we do this, the way this works now is that it kind of goes up. It kind of does it in an interesting way where it doesn't necessarily cut away above itself. So it does this interesting thing where it cuts forward. I don't know if I actually exactly love. So what if there's more rooms than just this? That's maybe the question that I should be asking. Because I think I've been doing such a small scale test, we're not actually getting good data from it. So let's make this test bigger. I think the problem is what we do only really makes sense when you look at 3 or more rooms in a sequence. So like when we have something like this. Oh, I didn't do that down the other layers. Great. So I think we have stuff that's kind of interesting when we look at something like this. So it's right now, it just kind of expands indefinitely. I think we did that for a good reason. And it was because we couldn't predict, like if there's a gap somewhere where there's an interruption, I don't know. I liked the deep view that we originally had of like, if you were cursoring this area, maybe, or if you were cursoring back here, maybe some of these front rooms wouldn't actually be cut away. But I actually think that it makes sense to be more aggressive with the cutaway the further back you go. If you want to take a different view, you could just rotate the camera around and look from the other side. Ooh, I got a spam bot. I got a spam bot to ban. Here we go. Blasted. So we actually want to go from... Oh, we actually want to do this cutaway just forward. I think I need to look more closely about how we're currently doing this before I understand how I want to do this the new way. Kind of interesting what we're doing. I understand why we behave slightly differently when we're touching the wall. I guess I understand that. Because you want to defer. Like if you're on a wall, you don't want to cut that wall away. The other thing I want to do is I want the input selection to be actually respective of faces rather than just whatever tile is like you're locked into. I definitely want to do it like that. Oh, wow, it's been like 3 hours already. I feel like I haven't done anything. But we're exploring. We're exploring some changes we want to make. We're all right. So the way this currently goes, I want to look at how we are just aggressively cutting forward. So when this, oh, so this cuts away blocks by cursor. So this runs, so this is like our backstop. Cutaway bounds is new cursor points by section. So this is boundary based. And this, we grab all of these, we iterate through the bounding box. And we apply bulk cutaways to everything in front. And then how do we do cutaways? As we go up. So when we do this. Okay, so that's not really involved. All right. Okay, I think I understand the direction we're heading. I think we're probably going to wrap it up here. We got ads starting in a few minutes, and I don't want to run the ads and then just end the stream. I think I'm going to sleep on this, about how we want to set up this more precise cutaway system. We might try a couple things again, like being less aggressive. Like cutting more of like a, not cone, but like, you know what I mean? Like cutting an inverted pyramid out rather than just super aggressively cutting everything in front of the cursor. I think that was simpler, and I think there are good reasons why we did that, so we might actually keep that, but I want to explore this process more. And I want to get away from just doing it with a simple bounding box, which is not precise enough for what I have in mind, especially when you start thinking about corridors. You can't just cut away corridors the same way you would cut away like a simple rectangular room. I'm also interested in how we render rooms that are bigger than 1Z layer, like a cargo bay or something, or big engineering room. I want to think about a lot more of that stuff. But anyway, that's going to be for next time. I think that's going to be Tuesday. I think we're going to wrap it up here. I appreciate everyone hanging out today, spending some of their weekend here with me. I hope everyone has a great rest of their weekend. Thank you all so much for watching. See y'all next time. Bye.